Welcome back. This is Markets Today. It's the middle of the week and we are taking a different trajectory, trying to understand the politics of the day, the recent advisory by CJ Maraga. What does this mean for Kenya's investment case and what options are available to President Uhuru Kenyatta? In studio, we are joined by Colonel Benjamin Mwema. Colonel Mwema is a political analyst, and a very warm welcome to you to this show.
Thank you.
What is happening? We have a decision that was passed earlier in the week by the Chief Justice of Kenya saying that Parliament needs to be dissolved. Please give us an overview of this.
Well, the Chief Justice was only doing his job.
Yes.
A lot has happened. Let us go back to where we started.
Yes.
The one-third gender rule came into force via the current constitution, which was promulgated in 2010. That constitution gave the state and parliament the duty of making sure that they create a mechanism of making sure that the two-third gender rule is done,
yes,
so that the both genders are taken care of.
Okay.
This comes back from long time ago, our culture and all these things. We made sure that as Kenyans that women were marginalized. So this constitution was trying to cure that. However, even before we get to that, the constitution gave women of Kenya some serious milestones.
Okay.
The first one being 47 county MPs, 18 nominated senators.
Yes.
The women were also nominated in the 12 nomination slots in the National Assembly. And therefore, this time round in this parliament, we have 22% women in parliament. This is the first time that has happened in this country.
All right.
So it is not that there is no movement, but then the constitution envisages better movement in this direction than we have achieved so far. So therefore, this is why there have been many petitions to the court, whereby judges have made decisions saying, look, you have this time as a parliament to come up with legislation that makes sure that that gender rule is done. That has not happened. And therefore, arising out of these many petitions that have been decided, and by the failure for Parliament to be able to do what the judgments of those petitions have been, the CJ is duty bound, and it's purely an administrative action. It's not a court order.
Yes.
It is an administration action which is in the constitution and which he has done. However, even in so doing, there are very many pitfalls as we move forward. The first one is, and this has been raised by Parliament already, they are saying the Chief Justice acted prematurely.
Okay.
Why? Because there are several matters that are coming up for hearing next month, which question whether it was the 11th Parliament or the 12th Parliament that should act on those court orders.
Yes.
That is still pending. Now, that is one of the issues, and already the Parliamentary Service Commission has decided to go to court to ask for the court to determine whether it's indeed right for the CJ to move and advise the president before the process in court, due process, has already been done.
Okay.
That is the first arm which must be done with. Other people will go to court as we move forward, and they will ask the court to determine whether the whole process was done according to the law.
Yes.
Now, if you go to the High Court today and lodge a petition, it will take at least a year or two in these times of corona for it to be heard and determined.
Yes.
In 2 years, then after that, it still has to go to the Court of Appeal. Another maybe a year. Then after that, it has to go to the Supreme Court. Now, only after the Supreme Court has made a decision on that matter, then can you say that the president can act.
Okay.
So that will take a very long time. And that is only one area that will be contested. The other areas that will be contested.
All right.
The next area that will be contested is if indeed the president dissolves Parliament, there are two issues there. One, when he dissolves Parliament, if we have an election,
yes,
is that a general election or is it a by-election?
Okay, maybe I can just interject there, Kano Mwema.
Yes.
So you've said first and foremost,
Yes.
the feeling on the ground is that the Chief Justice acted prematurely. So the Parliamentary Service Commission has taken him to court, which means another 2-3 years, that's the next election.
The next election will be done by the time the court process is done and dusted.
So it's sort of, it's neither here neither there at this point.
At this point, we're up in the air.
We are up in the air.
Yes.
Okay. Then now you're saying the second thing, should the executive, President Uhuru Kenyatta,
Yes.
decide to listen to what the Chief Justice is doing.
Yes.
Now, what are the options available there?
Now, even before we get to those options,
Yes.
let's say, okay, let's talk about the options.
Okay.
The first option he has is to act.
Yes.
If he acts, then we'll discuss.
Yes.
The other option he has is not to do anything about it, because Article 261(8) of the Constitution does not have a timeline.
Okay.
So he can say, look, yes, you have given it to me. I'm
Thank
taking
you.
my time.
Yes.
Actually, what I'm going to do as a good president, I'll use Article 10 of the Constitution
Yes.
and go back to the people, because I want to do good governance,
Yes.
and ask them what they think. Because what the Chief Justice has given me
Yes.
is an opinion which is purely administrative. It is
Okay.
not a court order.
Oh, it's not a court order.
It is not a court
so
order.
this is an administrative
This is
task.
administrative, and
Okay.
that advice is just purely advice.
Exactly.
So the president has a lot of leg room to wriggle around.
Okay.
And even before that, the parliament will say this. Look, Article 27 is the one, Article 27 and Article 81
Yes.
are the ones that talk about the 2/3 gender rule.
Yes.
Those two articles are not part of the fifth schedule of the Constitution.
Yes.
The fifth schedule of the Constitution talks about the bills that must be enacted by Parliament and the specific times that they must be enacted.
Okay.
Some are 1 year, some are 2 years, some are 5 years. Now, those two articles of the Constitution, 27 and 81, are not part of that schedule. However, Article 100 is.
Okay.
And Article
Wow.
100 talks about the marginalized, the minorities, youth, women, these people living with disability, and all those people, there must be legislation to take care of them.
Yes.
However, all this is not Parliament alone. This is supposed to be done by Parliament and the state. Now, what is the state? According to the Constitution, the state includes all judges and magistrates.
Okay.
Maraga is
Yes.
part of the state.
Yes.
What has he done himself to make sure that we have done this thing?
Okay, so then why did he do this administrative task? Is his term coming to an end? Did he have to have a say? What is the motivation from where you stand for him in his position? And of course, he holds a position of authority, a position where he speaks, the whole country begins to ask, are we okay?
I don't want to go there.
Yes.
But what I want to say is this. Parliament is not the only arm of government
Yes.
that is seized of this matter according to the Constitution.
Okay.
Go to Article 81 and read it. It says the state and Parliament is part of the state.
Oh, so even he should have been doing and contributing his part.
Including the members of county assembly, the county governments, the head of CID, everybody, end of it, everybody, even the military.
Yes.
Everybody should be part of that, because that is what the Constitution says.
All right.
So when we just take Parliament and say Parliament is the only one that is responsible,
Yes.
in my view, that is wrong.
Okay.
But let us move forward. Now, let us say the president now is in the process of deciding whether he's going to act or not. Someone will ask the president, when you dissolve this parliament, when we go to an election, will it be a general election or will it be a by-election?
Okay.
Some people have already said...
And what's the difference? General election, by-election. What's the key
A
differentiator?
by-election means when you do the election, the new members of parliament will come and finish the term that was there before.
Okay.
Now, if it's a general election, it means then the MPs that come in have another 5 years.
Okay, so a by-election means if I'm voted in as a new MP, I'm
Yes.
only voted in for about 2 years.
To finish the current term, which
finish the current
ends
term.
on the second Tuesday of August 2022.
2022.
Yes.
So that's about less than
2
2
years.
years. Let's say 2 years.
23 months.
So if a by-election happens,
Yes.
you're only voting for the MPs. Are you voting for the senators?
No,
Are you
let me just explain this further.
Okay.
Now, go to the tenure of the president. The tenure of the president is from the time he takes office to the time another person is sworn in as president.
In a general election only.
Just a moment.
All right.
That is what the Constitution says.
Okay.
Now, if we did not swear in another president, then the current president will stay on for eternity.
Yes. Oh, so, interesting.
Yes,
okay.
yes, that is it. Because he will not leave office. The office of the president can never be vacant. There must always be someone. So that president will stay there until another one is sworn in. Then he gives way.
Okay.
Now, how is a president elected? A president is only elected during a general election.
Okay.
Now, if you said you were going to hold a general election after the president has dissolved parliament, then it means then that the president must also be elected afresh.
Okay.
But the president will then say, but my term is 5 years.
Yes.
My term has not ended.
Yes.
MCS will say the same.
Yes.
And governors will say the same. Now, how do you cure that?
Okay.
It is still another problem which must be resolved. There are people who will say, look, this is not a general election, this is a by-election.
So that only affects the parliamentarians, that the MPs?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, if that is so, if it's a by-election, fine. Then you come and finish, and in 2022 we'll still go for elections.
Okay.
Now you want to, there's something very important that people must understand. Everybody on earth fears elections.
Yes.
Even for the cattle deep in your local village.
Yes.
Nobody wants to go for elections.
No, you.
Now, elections for MPs, if you are telling them to go to elections, well, by the time the elections are held, they will have less than 1.5 years to be in parliament. Some of them may even opt to wait until 2022.
Okay.
Then the other problem is the organization of someone's finances. They knew they have 5 years.
Yes.
They have taken loans. They have other financial obligations that they must take care of. Now, when you stop them at this point in time, what do you want them to do?
Exactly. And
there is no way they are going to support that.
Okay.
That is one side of the coin. The other side of the coin is then that someone will ask, and this is something that has not been asked, and it's very crucial in my view.
All right.
Does the president have the power to dissolve parliament?
That's a very good question.
Even if he wanted.
Can the president dissolve parliament based on the advice from the Chief Justice?
Now, when we put Article 261(7) of the Constitution, we assumed that the president has power to dissolve parliament.
Okay.
Why did we do so? I was part of the people who worked on this new constitution.
Okay.
People assumed that the other constitution will still be hanging somewhere behind the wall.
All right.
As we promulgate the new one.
Okay.
But it is very clear when the new constitution came into effect, the last constitution was annulled.
All right.
Repealed totally.
Okay.
So the last president who had the power to dissolve parliament, in my view, and in the view of this constitution, which does not have the word dissolve anywhere.
Oh, is it?
Yes.
So you cannot dissolve the parliament?
The last president who could dissolve parliament before 28th of August 2010 was President Kibaki. And after that, he could not dissolve.
All
so
right.
nobody, in my view,
can
dissolve parliament. So even if the president wanted to dissolve parliament, he will have to go to court and ask the courts.
And ask the same
court.
Chief Justice if he can dissolve.
Yeah, before it gets the Chief Justice, it will go to the High Court, which has got originating jurisdiction over all matters in this country.
Wow, interesting.
And then the president will only ask, now I have this advice from the Chief Justice to dissolve parliament. Now, what powers am I going to use to dissolve parliament since the Constitution does not confer me that power? Then we go through the same process,
again.
The High Court.
Then we get to 2022.
Court of Appeal.
Yes.
The Supreme Court.
Yes.
By 2032, maybe we will not have finished.
2022. So then, it sounds from what you're saying, Kanomwema, it's just something that somebody brought in. It's like a red herring. Is this something that came in to sort of distract us from something else, or are we all just paying attention to something that does not necessarily hold water?
I think the CJ has just done his duty.
Okay.
Really bashing the CJ, I think, is misplaced in my view.
All right.
He has just done his part.
Okay.
But the framers of the Constitution did not envisage what would happen after that was triggered.
Yes.
So the Constitution does not have safeguards to be able to take care of this situation that we are in, which is new.
Okay.
We are actually charting new ground in jurisprudence in this country because this has never happened before.
All right.
And we are now, as Kenyans, as we debate and as we discuss, we are finding out there are many loopholes that we did not see as we gave ourselves the new constitution.
Okay.
And therefore, In my view, and as we now talk about politics and the economy,
Yes.
the economy has had a lot of beating from COVID-19.
But maybe
among other things, before we get to that.
Before we get into that, perhaps we can just take a quick break. Then when we come back, then we can touch on BBI and how that plays in, and then the politics and the impact on the economy.
Yes.
All right. So
Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Kano Mwema. So that's a very interesting conversation. But what Kano Mwema is telling us, it's nothing. Perhaps we're just getting all up in arms and getting our arms twisted for nothing, so to speak. So if it's not too much to pay attention to, then what does all of this mean for investments as we get into the election cycle, which is expected to happen in the year 2022? Where are you watching us from? What would you like to know? What is your voice in terms of looking at the politics of the day and the impact on investments? Our SMS line 20146, or Twitter, you can find me on Mbithe Mwema, or you can be able to also find us on Metropole TV. See you after the break.